Katapu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Qesankh Ma Keparu with another exciting video for you. And in this video, we're going to be talking about their reality is not your reality. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live and when I upload recorded videos. If you'd like to know more about my spiritual teachings, you can scroll down below and click on the links and download a free ebook on spirituality and manifestation. If you want to go down the deeper end of things and follow that rabbit down the rabbit hole, you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $1, $5, or $20 per month. You can cancel anytime. You'll get exclusive access to instructional videos on the spiritual, on the esoteric videos that teach you how to meditate, proper mantras, how to create an amulet, how to contact the ancestors, and on divination. If you are a Sir level supporter, you'll get all your oracle readings for free. So become a Patreon supporter today. Last but not least, share this video with family and friends so we can get the revolution started. Haru Nefer. Keep in mind that when I say that, it's just not figuratively. I really mean that literally, because a revolution can come about through many ways, through physical means or uprising, but also through a change in the vibrational frequency of the people on the planet. That is the best way, because it may take generations to effect, but it is a lack, well, therefore it doesn't lead to bloodshed, is what I'm trying to say. And if you study revolutions on this planet, many have been done through coup d'etats, bloodsheds, and things of that nature. And we don't want to get into that, because we are people of a spiritual nature, and we understand that we can have effects near and wide through the power of our vibration. How we must change first. The law of state transference is, if you want someone else to be in a different state of mind, you must first be in that state. So that is a very old African ideology, a thought process, and we must adapt that today. If you want your mate to change, if you want your boss to change, if you want a situation to change, you must first be in that state that you want to change. I was out the other day and I was trying to manipulate reality. And yes, I go out every day and I have the objective of setting an intention and then trying to alter reality. And it wasn't happening. And I just said to myself, oh, I know what it is. I am missing excitement. I am missing joy. And that is a prerequisite for changing the space-time continuum. You must be in a very excited, joyful state of mind for the thing that you want to manifest or to change. Otherwise, it won't, because the universe does not understand verbal commands. It only understands emotions. So let's keep that in mind. So I want to talk about something that's very, very important. I have gone through my life as a maverick, breaking the rules, not intentionally. That's just how I was. You know, when my parents would take me to Christian church, I wanted to go to an African church. When I would study science, I wanted to study the occult. You know, so in school, I would ask questions about the occult. And they'd be like, well, that's a different school of thought. You have to go somewhere else for that. So I was always, in that sense, trying to break the rules in a way. And we have to understand that one of the chief means through which the ruling elite governs and controls this planet is through hegemony. They want things to be hegemonous. In other words, they want the left brain Western culture to be the global dominant culture, which it is. And based on this linear thought process of based on polarized thinking, they have captured and enslaved the planet in such that we are in a state of darkness. See, when people of color, melanin, ruled the planet, they were whole brain thinkers, and thus we saw that there was a installation of ma'at, morality, on the planet, to where everything was connected, and we saw things through the butterfly effect. If you don't understand what that means, then go research the butterfly effect, of how something small that you may do affects something all across the planet. So Ma talks about the interconnected interdependence between all things, and we must understand this. You see, people who are of European descent cannot see an abstract God. So when we created the concept of Amen, that which cannot be seen, heard, felt, or taste, they couldn't understand that. So they had to conceptualize God as a dude with a beard in the clouds, and that was the way they could see and understand God. In the same way they constructed the avatar or the archetype of Jesus, they had to have something that they can visually see because they are concrete thinkers, whereas we are abstract thinkers and we understand abstract principles. So with that in mind, I want you to try and digest this. You must understand that you do not live in the same reality as your friends. In fact, we can go deeper down this rabbit hole. But before I do that, let me take a step back, actually, because I don't want to throw too much at you. Taking this step back, you must understand that along with Ma'at thinking, whole brain thinking, it is the ability to accept two truths and hold them in your mind as both valid. And also with that is accepting two negative ideas and hold them in your mind as both being valid. People get caught up when they start to study African culture, Kemetic science, and they see what they call as a lot of contradictions, but they're really complementary ideas. Holding these ideas in your mind is very difficult. This is why people who are in the voting process with our government don't understand the concept that both candidates can be corrupt, both candidates can be evil, but they play on the thought process by setting up this polarized left brain thinking, which entails one is good, one is bad. You see, that's the whole Hegelian dialectic, the thought process of setting things up as one is an opposing force. You see, when we look at the whole idea of the thesis and antithesis, the meaning, when you start coming up with this antithesis, you've already failed, because you're now saying there's an opposing element to your existence, and there is no opposing element to your existence. All things are one. All things are there for your furthering of your spiritual ascension, and you must not forget that. If you start getting caught up in names, labels, and definitions, and you violate Tahuti, Thoth, because he says nothing has a quality in and of itself. And in fact, the prerequisite to peace, happiness, and harmony in your lifetime is through Tahuti, not placing a name, label, or definition on something. Therefore, nothing can cause you pain. Therefore, you cannot manifest something to cause you pain. You cannot manifest something to cause you harm because you have not placed a label on it or defined it as such. If I say I am married to this sexy Latina who every day nags me and causes stress in my life, I have failed in spiritual culture because I have failed to see her as a means to further my spiritual knowledge, the edification of my soul. You understand? She is there as a means for me to become Oser. That is the key. So I divorce myself of those people, brothers and sisters, who say that the white man is evil. No, he is there for your spiritual ascension. I divorce myself of those people who say Puerto Ricans are evil, Asians are evil, Black people are evil. No, everything serves to further is what the great oracle, the I-ching, tells us. So you must understand that. And also with that, understand whole brain thinking in the sense that you can have two things that are true. This is the whole idea of Ma'ati, the two truths. So I want you to keep that in mind, because you must understand that everything in what you perceive as an external world does not exist. There is no external world. It's all happening within your head. It's a head trip. You get it? It's a head trip. And the goal of it is to understand the signs and symbols. And you see, when you dream, those are metaphors based on emotionalism. Those metaphors are there to communicate to you what's going on in your psyche. You see, we live in what we call is the reality. This reality is still a dream. It's Maya. It's a midsummer's night's dream. It's Maya. And everything that's happening in your world is still trying to communicate to you what's going on in your psyche. Do you get it? It's the microcosm of the macrocosm. Now, the ruling elite was hoping that through this whole idea of hegemony that they could create their culture of left-brain polarized thinking that would spread throughout the planet as a virus and encapsulate the people and imprison our mindset, which it has done successfully. But what is coming back that people of color have created is the idea of whole brain thinking, the absence of polarized left brain thinking. And in that, you must understand that along with life, you must accept death. You must understand death and must not fear death. It's just as valid as life. But see, the ruling elite predicates themselves upon death, upon fear. They are masters of fear-based program. But let me get into what I was saying before. You see, I knew very early on when I was in college and you know, when I was working with professors and I was dating, you know, I just did my thing. And then when I left college, I started mingling with those in the so-called conscious community who would tell me that, you know, these people were racists and that you should do this, you should do that, you got to be careful of the white supremacy and all that. And I said, I have never had any problems until I got into the conscious community with white people. I have never had any problems with employment and things of that nature until I got into the conscious community. But what happened? You see, the reality that I experience is a reality that I project outward from my belief system. So if I don't hold those concepts and ideas in my psyche, they don't project outward and they don't become an experience that I go through. But the minute I accept those ideas and I role play them within my psyche, then the power within me, because I'm a reality generating machine, works to manifest it, and therefore it starts to happen. Now, someone will talk about, well, that's just merely your reticular activation system picking up on what was there previously, but you didn't notice it before. No, that's a valid proposition, but it's not true. You see, reality does not exist apart from the observer. So I don't care what your reticular activation system is picking up. It wasn't there before until you manifested it, until you created it. See, there were people who didn't, no one told me I couldn't do certain things, and I went and did them anyway. And people were amazed that I did them. And I said, well, I never held the belief system that I couldn't do it. But you hold that belief system. They have done studies, let's say, for example, of two martial artists. One is a black belt, spent 10 years studying martial arts. The other is a non-black belt. And if you put that non-black belt, that white belt, into the ring with a black belt, and you don't tell that person that his opponent is a black belt, and they fight, it may even come out to an equal match. But if you tell that person who is the white belt that the other person is a black belt, 10 years in the making, when they fight, the person, the white belt, the novice, will lose immediately. You see the power of what they call the mind, but it's really the power of the spirit. It's really your juju, your voodoo, your magic. Because you see, if no one is telling you that that's impossible, then you don't hold that belief system of parameters and limitations, which is symbolized by the goddess Sekert. And without those parameters and limitations, you are free to create. And the cultural hegemony, which has set parameters and rules in place, does not exist for you. So you are Neo in the matrix. You can manipulate the matrix. Do you follow what I am saying? So if someone comes along and tells you that black women are trouble, oh, if you date a white girl, she's going to stab you in the back. If you date a white man, he's going to see you as a sexual object. If you accept those ideas, you become part of the pendulum, the thought virus. And that thought virus, which seeks new converts, you will download that information and then manifest it in this third dimensional existence. Do you not understand that? You see, we don't all live in the same space-time continuum. Everything is relative. Our ancestors tried to tell us that with the idea of Ma'at and Tahuti, relational thinking. Einstein was hinting at this when he talked about the space-time curvature of the planet, of Gaia, of Earth. See, the space-time curvature tells us that, time is relative. That if you leave Earth and you go to a distant star system and try to come back here, there'll be a whole new generation and culture here. It won't be the same time period. And you must understand, through the proven science of time dilation, they know that we all don't live in the same space-time continuum. Your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your aunt, your boss live in a different space-time continuum than you do. It is only when you come in contact with them do the space-time continuums converge to one. Now that's heavy. Now that's heavy. Let's take this a step further and say that when you are not aware of them or think about them, they do not even exist. They exist at the point of where you think of them, and then you manifest them in terms of a phone call, meeting for lunch, going to work. That's when they exist, and that's when they're needed for you to have an experience. Other than that, they're not there. They don't exist. And if you understand this, and you understand the power that you have, then you have a great deal of latitude to do so many things. You see, even after, I don't know, all these years of me as a priest, as a teacher, as a spiritual advisor, I still have to constantly remind myself of my power. The other day, I said something to this woman, and I'm walking away, and I knew I would see her the next day. And I said, oh man, I hope she doesn't take what I said in the wrong way. And then I caught myself and I said, what do you mean, Qesankh, that she's going to take it in the wrong? She'll take it however you want her to take it, because she's an avatar, she's a creation. Now, there is an objective reality behind what she will interpret in what I said, but if I have a strong enough belief system that slants it in terms of the way I want her to accept it, then it will be so. I have a say in how she acts, how she interprets what I say based on my belief system. You must constantly remind yourself of that. If you have a Freudian slip, or you slip up at work, or you write an email that gets sent out to the masses of people in the company and you get worried about what people would think, don't. Focus on what you want them to think and watch it come to fruition, because they don't exist. They're your creation. But however, if you leave them alone, then they will think negatively, because that was your first inclination, your first thought. So therefore, they will interpret it in a negative way, and then you will be embarrassed or what have you. This is why when we get into the school of Sebek, Your thoughts and your ideas are so very, very important because they create the world that you interact with, which you call reality, which you call the objective realm. And there's no objective realm, there's a subjective realm, and it's all a hypnotic tunnel. So you are in a trance state and you are experiencing your own hallucination, your own mind trip. There are some things that are objective and absolute, and that's called the consensus agreement that we made as a pre-life agreement with each other to have an agreed upon experience, the consensus agreement. But in terms of reality, you have 6% leeway in how things will manifest and how things will change and how things will evolve. 6%. You can test this by focusing on something and wanting a certain outcome, meditating and doing a tarot reading, and watch the tarot align with what you wanted to unfold. I told you about the test that we do where I tell people, or tell students to have in their mind a certain sentence or word, and then they go and interact with 5 strangers and watch those strangers repeat the word or the sentence they were thinking of. That tells you that these people do not exist. They are your creation. I have students who have called me and said they're watching TV, and then the person on the television looks at them and calls them by their name. I said, you broke the matrix. And that happens. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens. You want to see Jesus? You can manifest Jesus. You want to see ETs? You can manifest ETs. Whatever your strongest belief system is, you'll manifest. I remember I used to look at, like, you know, I knew Donald Trump back in the day. And I used to call him Mr. T. I made it funny. It was just being funny, you know. Damn, what was my point? And my brother had an interaction with him too. But what was my point? Oh yeah, I used to get jealous of. This is back in the '80s where they had the whole idea of greed is good. Everybody was doing real estate, making money, and I remember being jealous of these very wealthy men. And I had to stop and tell myself, why am I jealous? They don't exist. They don't exist. They're just there. They're there just for the sake of me having interaction and learning something from that process. Maybe that's the echo effect of my consciousness trying to tell me, Qesankh, go for more. You can be a millionaire. Because if I look at TV and I see more of these millionaires and billionaires, I have to say, what's going on? What is my subconscious mind trying to communicate to me? But you don't need to get jealous of them. It's just trying to tell you that that's something that you can achieve. I used to get jealous of astronauts because I wanted to go into space so bad, you know? But these things are there to speak to you, to give you information about something. And if you understand how to decode these signs and symbols, you can learn a great deal from them. Or you can just go to the oracles and let the oracle tell you. So don't get upset about what your neighbor has or what you see a rapper has and all that. You don't need to be, because you can achieve that. You have magic. Now, we talked about time dilation and hegemony, right? You must understand that the ruling elite, the goal is for them to create a culture, a way of living that becomes the predominant de facto way to operate. That is how they control and manipulate you. The problem is people of color keep missing it. They don't see the signs, and they keep getting duped. You were duped by Black Lives Matter, which was very obvious they were, you know, fraudulent organization. You were duped by them because you allowed yourself to be duped by them. and you're being duped by rap music. You see, the goal of rap music, I'm seeing films where there are films of just white films with rap music on them because they know that black people go to see those films. And the goal is to be, and with that music, ubiquitous. They want it to be part of the cultural norm. And they need it to be globally popular because that way they can infiltrate rap music with negative things to manipulate black people into extinction. That's simple. If they can create a culture via hip hop rap music that becomes the dominant culture among the minorities in this country, then they have a Trojan horse. And then they can now introduce things that are detrimental to the followers themselves, that are very detrimental. There's no accident that you have rappers wearing dresses and WAP. It's no accident where they keep pumping rap through all different types of movies, even fantasy films and things like that. They need it to be the dominant culture. But yet, you have people out there who are not smart, who talk about how rap has become a global phenomenon. Black culture reaches throughout the entire planet. That's not due to you. That's due to the modern media machine pumping it out there for the sake of manipulation. They don't want it to be a niche. They need it to be the dominant de facto music culture so they can interject in there all kinds of diabolical negative things to degrade the race. Do you not see the covert operations that are going on? Do you not see how your rappers who come out of obscurity, you never seen them before, suddenly come out of obscurity, are propelled to stardom, and next thing you know, they're in videos as the devil or pole dancing with the devil, taking it up the booty. This is the plan. Your goal is to separate yourself from the dominant de facto culture so you can operate independently and as God man, God woman. You will never do so operating under the guise of a pendulum or ergobor or a thought virus because it'll always control you. It will always manipulate you without your conscious awareness of the fact. It has a strong grip on people once you become indoctrinated into it. And it's unfortunate that all the shaman and priests and priestesses are gone because they are the ones that know how to deal with these pendulums and these ergobors, because they would put themselves into trance and do battle with these thought viruses and eliminate them from the collective consciousness. But that can't be done now because we don't believe that these things are possible where you can be manipulated, remote control. That culture is not organic. You believe that culture sprung up from the soft or this, and it came up organically. That is a lie. But you drank the Kool-Aid. There are people who I see who can't stop talking about rap, hip hop. They can't. That is an indication to me of a psychosis, that you are so programmed that you have no objectivity, no way to look back on yourself and see what's going on. When you start talking about Tupac and Biggie, more than you're talking about more important issues, economics, politics, and how you try to interject and make it seem like Tupac and Biggie had something to say about economics and politics, then you are lost. You are lost because you don't understand that one is entertainment and the other one is where we're fighting for our lives. Oh, yeah, but Tupac was a revolutionary. Show me the revolution. Show me the change. And I'm not putting him down in any way, shape, or form, but I'm letting you know the mere fact that we don't have men standing up ready to die for their cause or for the cause is a clear indication of a controlled population through remote control, through an ergobor, through a pendulum. You are so controlled, you will never, ever step out of those parameters to do what needs to be done for your liberation and your freedom. You won't do it. You're not made to do it. You're not bred to do it. The ruling elite has sought to that. They have made sure that women have specifically picked out weak men to procreate with. They specifically know that they have pendulums out there that grab you, put you under their guise, and to make you weak so that you will never rebel. In fact, you'll do the opposite. You'll go along with your own enslavement. Do you see? They're very diabolical and evil in the things that they do, but they're very thorough also. You understand? This is how you control a population without a revolution. They're not going to use military might and their advanced weaponry to subjugate you. They can do so with occult powers, through social engineering. They have time. You see, because the beings that are advising them from different dimensions, and they are beings that are advising them, live in a different time, space-time continuum than we do. What may be 20 years for us may only be a day for them. So those beings have time. They don't worry about how long something will take for the culture to spread and the influence to become dominant. They're okay with waiting. A century to us is a year to them. They have time. But instead of us tuning into light beings and those beings that could assist us from different dimensions, we don't believe in it. We have fallen victim to left brain culture, which says the only thing that exists is a concrete. Meanwhile, the ruling elite behind closed doors practice the occult. We have lost our way. We're confused. And if we don't see the signs, and if we don't learn to think more abstractly, we'll be extinct. Because they're going to keep coming with their diabolical plans. We've got to recognize and see it. We should have saw BLM. We should be now looking at rap and the next iteration of what their plan is about. But we're failing in that sense. Why? Because they conveniently distract us. This is why it's important that you don't go along with the dominant culture, that you remove yourself. Some people are too weak. They want to be part of the herd. because it's comforting, it's safe. They don't want to take that pill and come out of the matrix. It's scary. The truth is not always easily digestible. And people have a tendency of throwing it up. But when you're talking about your survival, you have no choice. Die or accept the truth and start to move for change. Going along with the status quo is a slow death. You may enjoy the ride, but at the end, there is going to be a horrible end. I want to thank you for tuning in today. This is Qesankh Ma-Keparu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is a beautiful goddess Teteru. Until my next video, Amun Ra.